Thank you for the round of applause for CQC. You might realise that's not always the reaction we get. Indeed, I was at a meeting of the South West Freedom to Speak Up Guardians yesterday, where somebody told me that the last 25 years in the NHS, the most scary thing has been the prospect of a CQC inspection. The fact that we've only existed for 8 years, just shows the power of backward projection or whatever. So I'm going to share a bit of my personal experience about what difference staff engagement and empowerment can make, and also reference you back, if I may, to a CQC publication this time last year, which was a case study of 8 trusts that had made significant improvements. And in this patch, Frimley was one of those. The 2 of the 8 that I know particularly well are East Lancashire, which I visited when it was still in special measures, having been put there by one of the first KEO inspections. And just amazing, the sensation that we got there as an inspection team and the reactions of the staff. And also University Hospitals Bristol, which is just up the road from us, CQC in the southwest, and a place I know well. I suppose my overall reflections are that there are some key ingredients to success in this area and some common themes. And many of the words that we started off hearing from Peter this morning, and then the sessions that have gone through have, chime absolutely with me around trust and authenticity and people really getting it if you're not doing it seriously. That's very undermining when that happens. I don't think there's a single way to do this or a single personality type that's particularly successful. I think it's day in, day out, having the right approach and meaningful conversations. The evidence from CQC inspections is that leadership is key in every area. Good leadership leads to a safer service, better outcomes for patients, far better work experience for staff. And when you get into that glorious circle, it's a very good place to be. And we can all reflect on the alternative when it's not like that, and how as individuals and teams and organisations, and God love them, our families and friends, also feel it when it isn't in that good place. The publication I've mentioned was called Driving Improvement, came out last June. It's still on our website if you want to have a look. If you read it this time last year, I'd suggest you get it out and read it again. And if you have some board seminars, I think it's worth a look. So some key common themes there were leadership, capacity and capability, culture, vision, values, strategy, all the things you'd expect. But patient and staff engagement being absolutely key, as is a drive for continuous improvement. And governance. I think it's really, I've seen places where some empowerment and engagement has gone on and energy and enthusiasm has been unleashed into something of a wasteland sometimes, where there aren't the tools, there aren't the systems in place to help people forward their ideas and make those improvements. The staff survey, Mike Richards, our first chief inspector, used to say if we could have only one piece of data, the staff survey would be it. And time and again, we found it a reliable barometer of what's really going on. And some of the places that have powered on have really made the most of their surveys, have looked at the detail, have looked at what it means in different places for different teams, and have not taken that transactional approach about these are our problems, we'll fix them and move on, but has made it much more a basis for more enduring improvement and conversations. So building that strong team, no more sort of heroic leadership, finding disconnections and working on them. And those disconnections can be in many places, can't they? Between medical and nursing staff, between managers and clinicians, between different grades, between different key people, relationships in that system. So finding those disconnections and working to heal them, so important. Genuine engagement, absolutely visibility on the shop floor, and don't write off those initiatives that are so simple. Believe me, trusts I've been to, they're still talking about the time the chief exec came on the ward and cleaned the toilets. You know, various back to the floor initiatives, whether it's clinicians working clinically regularly or whether it is, you know, all board members taking a stint once a month. In East Lancashire, that happened every fourth Friday. And talking to the executives there who weren't clinical but had been preparing food in the kitchens or cleaning on the wards, it absolutely made it real for them. And it went so far beyond a sort of surface gesture. The finance director told me he started to have some real concerns about the quality of the food and how appetizing it might be to someone who was feeling a bit nauseous. Would it really tempt him to eat? So all sorts of things came about. If you read the publication I've referred to, there's quotes in there from the staff at East Lancashire who talk about a sort of siege mentality in the best possible way, and that's what we found. This place was on fire for improvement. And I've never known an inspection like it, where 100 people turned up for a staff drop-in session. So the energy to engage, I think, when you do it well, it's really there. One of the most impactful stories I ever heard was from the laundry supervisor in East Lancashire, who talked about how her day was stuffed up when machines broke because sheets came down with teeth and glasses wrapped up in them. And just in case I hadn't understood the implications, she was at pains to make me understand it wasn't just the fact that her day was stuffed up, and that they'd be behind with the production of linen for the services, but actually what did this mean for those people? They wouldn't be able to eat, they wouldn't be able to see to read the paper, and what was that going to mean for their recovery? And supported by the methodology they were using, she'd invited staff from the ward down to the laundry and spoken to them directly about what that meant, and there had been a massive reduction in those incidents happening. And I thought, goodness me, I know we need the complex methodology to do this right, but just hearing someone who does the job say what's going wrong and then giving them the means to support them to sort it out, very powerful. University Hospitals Bristol, an organisation I'll admit at times I have been a bit scared of, and I was most scared walking up the road to talk to their chief exec about a report, very early inspection that was coming out requires improvement. In fact, I found them surprisingly welcome. So that was my first lesson. Don't assume that bad news, if you've done your work properly and presented, done a good inspection, written a good report, that people may actually take notice. That was great. And they did. And they went from requires improvement to outstanding. And when we asked them how they did it, they talked about a year of engagement with both the staff and patients and what a difference that had made. And they learned all sorts of things, such as how the message and discussion at board level wasn't actually, the things they talked about there just didn't feel right to the staff. They had a very different experience, didn't recognise the organisation as the leaders were describing it. So again, can't be actually having those conversations. And Robert Woolley, the chief exec at Bristol, said his biggest lesson was really understanding what mattered to the staff. And actually it wasn't about making savings. It wasn't about designing the future of the NHS. It was all about giving the best possible care that they could give today. So that was their lesson. So a different sort of energy in the two places, and there's a range of organisations that have felt that improvement. There is a new marker I'd just like to bring to your attention. I'm sure I'm nearing the end of my time. Yes, I am. Freedom to Speak Up Guardians. The latest reports from the National Guardian's Office show there is a direct correlation between the support that's given to guardians and the rating of the overall trust. So I'll leave that thought with you as something to ponder on, but love and support your guardians and they'll be a great help. Thank you.